we have presentation of Restore Hope, also known as 100 Families Operation. In your packet, that is Exhibit C. And this is a very exciting organization. They have already done some wonderful things for the state of Arkansas. Their director, Karen Phillips, lives in my district. And so it's really a joy, Karen, for you to be here with us today. And Paul Chapman, the executive director, is also here with her. So if you will both come forward, and we will hear from you at this time. If you'll just sit at the end of the table. And members, if you'll just hold your questions until the end of their presentation. Make sure your mic is on, Karen. And you may need to pull it towards you a bit.
Okay.
And first introduce yourself to us, both of you, and then we're ready for you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Karen Phillips. I am the 100 Families Director for Restore Hope, Arkansas.
And I'm Paul Chapman, the Executive Director for Restore Hope, Arkansas.
I just want to first thank you, Representative Veit, for inviting us here today. We're very excited to tell you about the organization and the initiatives that we've been working on. And whenever Governor Hutchinson took office, Arkansas had the fastest growing prison population in the nation. And at the same time, foster care, of course, was just multiplying at the same kind of rate as incarceration. And so so the governor, of course, called the faith community. Many of you might remember that, to a Restore Hope Summit. And then Paul Chapman, our founder and executive director, had written a paper to Governor Hutchinson about how to use collective impact to make an impact in this area and have better outcomes for communities. And Governor Hutchinson said, yes, that's great, go do it. And so we have been working on that since. At the time all of this was going on, I was working at another organization, and I did mainly housing and some social service programs and things like that. But I was drawn actually by Project Zero's videos and stories, and just couldn't ignore it any longer and became a foster parent myself. That definitely changed my life. I grew an overwhelming desire to not only help the children, but help the families that were involved in my children's lives, so their parents. And I'm really grateful to say that they were able to successfully go home. In fact, the 2-year-old boy that I got just turned 8 this past weekend, and he's been home for about 4 years with his mom, and we celebrated at my house. And so it's just a joy that I can see kind of the outcomes of families supporting other families in this way. And so that brought me to Paul and to Restore Hope with a desire to really impact the foster care system by really helping these families that I knew were struggling. And so Restore Hope uses a collective impact model to reduce foster care and incarceration, and we act as a backbone organization for several initiatives. One of them, and that's the one I'm going to speak mostly about today, is called the 100 Families Initiative. And I actually was hired by Restore Hope in 2018, and we launched our initiative in 2019. We also have just began a new initiative, Every Child Arkansas, which is just about providing more than enough support for bio families, more than enough adoptive homes, and more than enough foster homes, and more than enough support for DCFS in Arkansas. And then a SmartJustice initiative, which we will hand out our inaugural magazine today to all of you. You can tell I'm very excited about that. And a reentry program, a housing development arm, and a second chance education program. So how we do collective impact, what is collective impact? So we align partners in communities with a common goal. That is so important, is that we get the community involved. It's not just about, government providing solutions. You all know that we need community to provide solutions. And so we get together all the parties involved and we form what's called an alliance, and that's what we've done with 100 Families, is we have launched alliances in 6 counties now. So we started in Sebastian and then went to Crawford and to Pulaski and to White County, and then we found 2 other organizations that said, hey, we really want to launch 100 Families, and we didn't have the funding to provide to them, and they said, we have the funding. We want to launch 100 Families. We'll use your model, your methods, your system, and they did. And so a church in Russellville, in Polk County, is launching, and a Texarkana in Miller County has launched as well. So we use common measurements. So everyone who is enrolled in the 100 Families Initiative, and these are parents that are struggling, they're TANF eligible parents. Everyone that is enrolled, no matter where they, what organization enrolls them, all use the same kind of assessment up front and measurements on the back end so that we can truly track outcomes for families. We connect to existing community resources, so we know that every community has resources. Navigating those resources is a difficult task, but we help connect everyone in the community to those existing community resources. And we provide a HIPAA compliant communication across all sectors. So whether it be housing and transportation, education, employment, recovery, mental health, all of those things, we bring a HIPAA, FERPA, COPA compliant system that allows communication across sectors, because the families themselves have given permission for them to have a care team set up with different community organizations working towards common goals. And then we provide that backbone support. So 100 Families is a community-led initiative that helps move families from crisis to stability and onto career. And we use those existing community resources. We engage community partners and we train them on that collaborative case management system, and we recruit them to respond whenever a family is in crisis. So trying to not only serve families that are involved with DCFS, so that have a case where their children have been placed in foster care, but also protective services case where their children are still in the home and have a protective safety plan, but also moving way upstream and preventing families from ever entering the child welfare system by helping them immediately during their crisis. So the families we serve the neediest of the needy in our communities, and 1 out of 3 of our parents had a suspended driver's license. 43% had been a victim of domestic violence. 1 out of every 3 had been convicted of a felony, and 72% had been to jail or prison. Half of them were in need of child care services. Half of all our families had no income from any source at intake. 47% did not have their GED or high school diploma. 20%, or 1 out of every 5, did not have SNAP benefits or income. And 1 out of every 4 were homeless. So you can see our families are definitely the neediest in the communities that we serve. So TANF is the primary funding source for the 100 Families Initiative, and so that means that we have to provide TANF eligibility services across the state, and we do that through our system. We've built this system to help communities be able to serve TANF eligible clients and have the proper documentation to show that they're verified as eligible, which is a very important part of using TANF money. And then we also have a UAMS child abuse prevention grant, and so that has an added additional case manager with a warm line for DCFS courts in Sebastian, and they actually attend courts. Many of our case managers throughout the different communities do attend either, the child welfare court cases, the district courts, and even criminal courts as well, circuit courts. We have a partnership with Public Knowledge that is helping us build a parent advisory panel here in Pulaski County, and adding differential response case managers, and we are building out asset maps so that DCFS, this is one of the ways we want to really support DCFS, because case managers have lots and lots and lots of training on many things, but sometimes resources are hard for them to find and understand what all's out there. And so we're building on those asset maps and training DCFS on what those resource connections are. So that's something that we're working on for the future, just so you know. That's a new partnership. DHS Family Stability Program. So we were able to get some of the ERA money, the Emergency Rental Assistance money, to help struggling families with rent, utilities, incentives to work with case management and accountability. I put that in there because that is the premise of all of our initiatives, is that we use our programs to help move people forward in life. And so if a family is in crisis and they need inpatient recovery, and that's what they really need right now, then that's what we're going to help them get. We're not gonna just put someone with no income that is, currently using meth into a house. We're going to make sure that the proper steps are taken, and that people are served and helped, but in a way that will help them be successful. And then we have Delta Regional Authority that's added vocational training, and we focus a lot on vocational training and helping our parents, moms and dads, get into different careers that are long-term. So we've had welding schools, trucking schools, different types of scholarships available. So I wanted to show you the growing number of enrollments in 100 families. That's what this slide is for. So you can see in August of 2021, we enrolled 63 new families that month. And you can see in July of 2022, just a month ago, we enrolled 138 families in 1 month. So we are growing exponentially, and we believe that this number will probably be above 100 new families every month from now on, and especially as we add new communities. So the progress report for just the month of July. So this shows 147 families, which includes some outside organizations that enroll families that weren't on that previous slide. But there's 964 active families. So our families that are served in 100 families on average stay in the initiative for 8 months. And some of them are in for 2.5 years or 3 years. I've cases that have been that long. And then some are much shorter, but an average of 8 months, because that's how long it takes for us to get them the services they need and get them moved towards stability. We have 2,215 children currently being served, and you'll see the impact as far as the actual outcomes that the community is seeing. 85% increase in the number of families who were stably housed. There's been a 71% increase in the number of families with full-time employment, and there's 125% in increase in the number of families that are financially stable. And we actually assess this and analyze this on 13 different areas. So if you ever want a really big outcome report, we have on a monthly basis about 100 different pages we can send you on outcomes. We do have quite the large amount of data.
The total number of clients so far?
Since just August 1st of 2021, we've served 1,681 with and then 2,324 to date.
I'd add that that this is I've been in I left financial technology, fintech, about 17 years ago to kind of do this professionally. And it was all around trying to solve the problem for folks getting out of prison. And I thought, that'd be quite easy because we're solving hard problems for banks that we're acquiring other banks. Surely we can fix this. 17 years later, I'd say it wasn't quite as easy as I thought it might be. But we are now at a point in Arkansas where we've got scalable infrastructure that can be placed into a community that allows the existing resource in the community to optimize its connections amongst each other. It's a systems approach. So instead of trying what I often did and many of my friends and partners often did was we would look at a section of the service delivery community and you try to optimize a section. We do really well in an educational program. But folks that are in deep crisis actually are on average in usually 3 areas. And so if we couldn't address housing and you've got children at home and you're getting kicked out on Friday, it was hard to get someone to come back on Monday to the trucking school program. And so, but there's housing programs out there, but they're not connected with, not to the degree that actually operationalizes the ability to partner together. And so that's what we've spent all these years now working on, and now we're trying to multiply this to other communities that would want to actually work together in this way.
Thank you. And these are our family preservation and reunification outcomes. We're so very proud of this. So when a family works with DCFS, they have a 43% chance right now of reuniting with their children. But when we come alongside DCFS and we work with the caseworker and we help encourage the family, then we see a 76% reunification rate for those that are enrolled in 100 families as well. And so that comes up to 126 families reunited through our program, 344 children that were reunited with their families, and even greater still in our minds is the number of children that we've been able to keep in their homes safely without the trauma of removal, and that's 2,638 children that safely remained in their homes, 1,183 families preserved. So this is a little bit about our system. It's called Hope Arc. It's it does TANF eligibility determination, data collection across real-time data across the state, compliant communication. We use the system to help resolve legal issues through a court resolution team, and enables our clients to get their driver's license back. And then also client goal setting, so putting our clients kind of at the driver's will and saying, okay, what do you want your life to look like from here on out? Let's start working towards that. So I wanted to show you a screenshot of, and I've removed the any data, any information that had personally identifiable information in it, but this is a screenshot from the system itself, and I wanted to show you how it works. So this is a real case, and it has those octagons, those aren't octagons, hexagons that are up in the right corner there in the middle, and those represent different people on a care team for a family. So this is a specific family, and those are all the people working together on a care team to help this family. And so the care team members, on average, each case has 7 different providers working for the family. Any provider that wants to go in and see the consents and see if we are, HIPAA, FERPA, COPA compliant, then they can go in and actually view the consents, download them, print them, put them in their files. And then there is a full assessment in 13 different areas completed, both at intake and then every month thereafter that we can get in a hold of the client. Of course, that month might skip or something here and there, but we maintain this this scale of progress or regress in some cases, obviously, showing, on a month-to-month basis where these families are at the end of the month. So whether you work for example, the Community Rescue Mission in Fort Smith, and you are a family mission that takes families with children, you can enroll in the system, use the assessment, and we will all join that team and say, hey, we're going to be part of this family's care team, and whatever you can't do, somebody on this care team can do to help provide support to this family.
That would include, in the care team, it could be a parole or probation officer in a district court or in ACC. Could include caseworker supervisor from DCFS. And so the ability in very complex issues that a lot of Arkansans that would come into contact with DCFS or ACC or a district court and not do well. There are some authorities that are involved in their lives, but they can be added to this case and see real time what's actually going on, which allows the group now to coordinate better. And so you'll see those outcomes that we were showing earlier largely is done through the ability to have this constant communication and awareness of what's really happening.
And so that is in addition to the area of the system that manages that monthly assessment and tracking progress, we also have a message board, and that's what you see some clips from, is the compliant communication in the care team, where everyone is working together to come up with a plan and solutions for barriers that the families are facing. So our goal is to expand the 100 Families Initiative and Every Child, which you'll hear about here in a moment, to the top 25 counties in Arkansas. And so what every community needs in order to launch 100 Families to have this initiative is an alliance. So you have to have community support. You have to have community members that are willing to work together. We actually have them sign something called a Declaration of Participation, just basically saying that, hey, we're going to work together, we're going to put aside our own agendas, and whatever helps the family, that's what we're here to do, not to for our own glory. And so that's why we call it 100 Families, is because 100 Families is not an entity. Restore Hope is the entity that provides the backbone support, but we want everyone in a community to own 100 Families. So you must have an alliance. You must use the system, which is the Hobart Collaborative Case Management System, for both communication and assessment. And there has to be case managers. You can call them case managers, navigators, community liaisons, lots of different things. But basically, someone that is going to make sure that this family doesn't get dropped, that there is someone that is responsible for the constant updates and communication. And so you can see kind of a plan for statewide rollout that we would someday like to see. So the expansion methods for 100 Families, because we know that this is successful and helping families, and so we would love for it to expand. We can do affiliate agreements, which is of course little to no cost to TANF. We have done sub-grants in different communities, and then also company stores, basically where we are hiring all of the case managers ourselves and running the program directly, so doing direct service as well. So Restore Hope, as far as the backbone, of course, we own the Hobart Case Management System. We make sure that the system is kept up to date, that it's constantly being developed, that the data analysis is done with integrity. And we are always seeking resources and partners for our counties. And so we help them obtain additional grants. They can use our data to obtain grants. It's their data, so it's community data. We have a case management training course that we require case managers, even if they work for other organizations, to go through, so that they can, understand their ethical requirements as far as when you work with a family in need. We have technical assistance monthly calls with each coordinator. So the coordinator role is extremely important in each community. It holds the alliance together and brings along new organizations families that want to be a part. And then, of course, we monitor any affiliates or subgrants. This next initiative, which is very new, is that until there's more than enough for every child, is what I like to say. The goal is that there would be enough for every child in Arkansas, and that's I explained to you a little bit about what that was in just a moment ago. But we work together to align all the organizations serving children before, during, and after foster care. So many of the organizations you probably have heard from in this in this legislative committee are on a team and communicating frequently, which we know communication is key to really making a change and removing duplication of services and just helping our families to have better outcomes. So we communicate through working groups. We've hired a coordinator, Shane Baker. He's a foster adoptive parent in the past, and a pastor as well, and he is leading that effort, and we've had over $1 million pledged in private funding. This has all been paid for through private funding so far, and we've been using shared measurements for success. So this is, like I said, it's brand new, but we are going to be looking at, are we increasing the number of foster homes that are opened, specifically around the needs that the department has. So in other words, if they need homes open for children that have special needs, or they need them for teenagers or larger sibling groups, how are we targeting to get those kinds of families? And then, of course, we will be looking at reunifications and the decrease of DCFS turnover. And, how are we affecting that? By supporting DCFS, by letting them know that we do, care and support and know how difficult their job is, and that we know that whenever there's turnover, that causes a great deal of hardship for families. And so we want to help with that, and that's what one of the goals of this initiative is. SmartJustice. And so we're very excited about this. This is an outcome of a series of trips up to Winthrop Rockefeller Institute called IR3. It's called Incarceration, Reentry, Reunification, and Recidivism. And we were, as we work together on different working groups at IR3 at Winthrop Rockefeller Institute, we realized that people in general just don't know about these different ways to support the community, to reduce incarceration, to reduce foster care, to provide supports in communities, to provide alternatives like in district courts that we're seeing across the state of Arkansas, diversionary courts, and we get a lot of our families actually enrolled through those courts. But so SmartJustice is our method of getting the word out. And I hope that you get a chance to read these articles. I mean, they are just outstanding, and they're well written, and I'm just really proud of it. So, and then we will start a series of podcasts as well, and the first one will be released on September 7th.
Yeah, we'll release, did you say, we're releasing 2 per year. After we kind of we ascend Petit Jean Mountain, and the wisdom of the group comes out, we will then come out of that meeting with a particular subject in which there's a unified voice on a particular deal. So this one's about the family, the importance of the family in justice issues, whether it be child welfare or otherwise. The next one will be around the importance and the opportunity that we have in Arkansas by engaging folks in district court. Because there's a very particular way you can identify some folks that are starting down a slide into real trouble. And we can find them there and offer them help and a way out.
Okay, I know we are kind of short on time. The rest of these are really self-explanatory. They're smaller initiatives that we work on in the City of Little Rock Jail. We have a housing development arm that just also came out of WRI, which is we saw the great need for affordable housing in the state of Arkansas, and we know that it's not being developed because nonprofits that want to provide transitional housing and different types of housing don't necessarily know how to access the funding. So since we have that expertise on staff, we're going to begin to help communities doing that. And we have several communities that have asked for that help. And then also a second chance education grant. Do you want to talk about that?
Pell Grant, in 1994, with the passage of the crime bill, we stopped allowing Pell Grant to be used in jails and prisons. A number of years ago, there was an experimental program in Arkansas. It was Shorter College and ASU Newport that were allowed to do Pell Grant inside of prisons. It looks like next summer that's going to become widely available to all Title IV schools. We added 2 more schools in the expansion of the experimental step this summer. It was CARC in Pine Bluff, and I think it was Philander Smith was the other one. And so in a partnership with CARC, we're helping them launch with 30 students in Verner and in Cummins. Incarcerated students there, with the idea that if we can get some best practice and some faculty that would like to travel and work for multiple schools, then we can help colleges and community colleges across Arkansas, when Second Chance Pell becomes widely available next year, actually start to turn our jails and prisons into opportunities for jobs. We need 4,000 truck drivers in Arkansas today. It takes 1 month to get there. There's money in workforce, WIO and many other Department of Labor that would actually get someone there. And so how do we scale the ability to train truck drivers and welders?
All right, we would entertain any questions if you have any at this time.
Well, members, you can see why I was so excited to get them before you and to hear the actual change that we're seeing in Arkansas families due to the efforts of this group.